Talking with famous people.
Your thoughts on China then?
So
We're reading about China and Taiwan, and this thing's basically saying China bad, Taiwan good. What do you think?
okay, so
You were born in China, keep in mind, right? Shanghai.
yeah, I think so. You know, the reason why people are saying that China is bad, Taiwan's good is because of their different opinions. It's also because of the different government forms. Because China is a communist and Taiwan is more of a democracy. So the democratic countries tend to support Taiwan because it's their their ideologies match, and as what I've learned from my history teacher today in my ninth grade, my history teacher is basically saying that democratic countries do not want communist country because that they loses their democracy and it's kind of important to those countries. So they do not want, like, they want to limp just so they I don't know, they just favor their own ideology because it's their own thoughts, because they think that it gives more freedom, and it does. So I think different countries have different opinion because of their difference, in their history and their historical background and their government forms. So there really is no right or wrong. It's just basically based on your description. So as a Chinese, I support China because I am a Chinese and I've learned from my history, and different countries tends to teach their people different histories.
But hold on, I got a question for you, Jasmine. The United States has to choose, right? Let's say they have to choose to either recognize Taiwan as its own country, like the Taiwanese people want, or to say, China, you get to control Taiwan, like the Taiwanese people don't want. Now, which should the U.S. do?
Consider the okay. So this is not a easy decision, as you can see from like those. It's been a problem for many years. So one should not only consider they should consider the benefit they can get. They should consider, like, if they choose this country, what can they get, the trading, like income, and then money, more, like, not just money but like more, just because for me, I can't say anything because I don't understand the situations. I understand the situations, but I don't know, because one can choose. They can make decisions because they need to make a decision on, like, which country can benefit them the most.
But
Not
shouldn't they
just
make a decision on who's being in the right and who's being in the wrong? I mean, isn't China trying to force itself on Taiwan?
Well, the thing is, it's based on history, so that's what I've learned. So there's no right or wrong. A country, if it's a country, if you want to grow and if you want to expand, you have to. The country makes. That's why people. That's why, and like in like when there are kings and I don't know, emperors, they tend to, like, expand their country by conquering lands. But now we want but now, like, China's growing stronger, and we want, it's just, if you're growing stronger, you want more land. That's just a thought, and there's really no right or wrong. It's not just, you can't just say that China's wrong or China's
though?
right.
But what about the individual person in Taiwan who currently has freedom and liberty, and somebody who's not Taiwanese, who's not leading them, comes and says, now I'm going to control you? Well, what if the United States decided it wanted to take over China? Would that be okay? Would it? If we sent a bunch of troops and dropped nuclear bombs on China and went and took it over, would that be okay?
But the thing is, you're saying that people in China doesn't have that much freedom, but like, the thing is, they do.
But they don't. I've been there.
But, like, it's gotten better.
It has gotten better. It's not nearly as good as Taiwan, and regardless, that doesn't justify China forcing itself on Taiwan.
But I am not saying that it's right, or I'm not saying, I do not, well, like, for now, I can't say anything because I need to look at more information, because I've only been in China, and what I've been learned is about, like, China's good. So I think China's good, but I need more information to determine this, to make this decision. I can't just say anything right now because that would be a irresponsible decision.
But Jasmine, you understand that in policy debate, you're going to be tasked with arguing specifically that, I mean, at least with one of our asks might be, let's engage economically with China. One of our asks might be something else. One of our asks is going to be, let's affirm that Taiwan's sovereign status is an independent nation. And the reason we're doing that is for principlist reasons. We're saying it is immoral, incorrect for the Chinese government to force its ways upon a democratically elected people, a democratically elected regime in Taiwan, which has better respect for human rights than China does. And there's no legal, moral, or otherwise justification for China forcing itself upon Taiwan. It has enough land already, right? China is the most land-rich place in the entire world. It's got a population of billions of people. Why does it need to force its way on Taiwan as well?
But the thing is, okay, so in my opinion, that's not my opinion,
No,
but it's
forget
actually the
this in
truth.
my opinion stuff, Jasmine. We're not talking about whose opinion. We're talking about whose opinion is right or wrong, not about how they're all the same. We're talking about how some opinions are wrong and some opinions are right, and one answer is correct and one answer is wrong. And withholding judgment and saying, no, it might be okay for China to go attack Taiwan is not a reasonable position to hold. You're saying, I'm not going to say anything either way because I need to learn more. You don't need to learn more. China's a dictatorship. Taiwan's a democracy. China's going to try to attack them and take them over and force them to be like China. China's bad. Taiwan's good. It's as simple as that. China is authoritarian. Taiwan's not. China does not respect human rights. Taiwan does. It's that fucking simple.
But for me, I think Taiwan, it is right for China to take over Taiwan because...
Go ahead. Tell us. Tell us why it's right for China to take over Taiwan.
Because, as I've said, different countries, they teach their kids different things. But for me, as a country, that's like... Because Taiwan was a part of China.
No, China was a part of Taiwan, according to Chiang Kai-shek. We just read that. Chiang Kai-shek was saying, no, we're the government of China. And China's authoritarian regime has no better claim to the governance of China than Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist regime. There's no reason to presume that one ought to have more claim over the governance of China than the other, except through the normal means by which we determine legitimacy. Does China respect human rights? No, so they have less legitimacy. The justifications you're giving would also justify the United States nuking China and running in there with a bunch of soldiers and taking it over. And the United States could do that. Despite the fact that China's got a massive military and massive weapons buildup, they're still not nearly as close militarily in strength as the United States. And if your justification for China's aggression against Taiwan is justified, then so too is aggression against China by the United States. Might makes right. That's the world you're promoting. There's no reason to presume that China is up to anything positive at all when they don't have any moral or legal justification for their behaviors. But see, this is the thing that happens in the U.S., right? You and I get to fight it out, right? We get to fight it out and we get to criticize China. I get to criticize the U.S. all I want and say, God damn, this government is horrible and we should eliminate all of the current policies and change everything, blah, 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 blah. But that's not encouraged in China. That's the problem with China, right? It's not encouraged. You've not been encouraged to challenge Chinese policy since you've been born, have you? When you went to Chinese school, did they say, let's talk about ways in which China is doing things wrong? Well, they should have. I'm talking to you all the time about the ways in which the United States is doing things wrong. Because that's called solvency. That's called actually addressing problems in the world. We say, my country is effed up because they're doing this. That's what I say about my own country, right? I'm saying it about China too. I'm saying, let's hold all the countries to the same standard. China's got no cause to aggress upon Taiwan, just as the United States has no cause to aggress upon China. And to allow it on the grounds that China has some sort of historical claim to genetic similarity of the people on Taiwan is not a legitimate justification. I might as well say, well, we've got claim to attack people because they're genetically different. Genetic similarity or difference is not a cause to attack somebody. Historical claim is not a cause to attack somebody. The thing is this, China wants to force its way onto Taiwan. And I understand that we all are nationalists and we like our own country. You were born in China, you're a Chinese national, you approve of being Chinese, you're proud of China, that's fine. I'm proud of the United States. And yet I condemn it when it does wrong. It's our moral duty to do so, right? Being a patriotic American doesn't mean supporting America's policies when they are wrong. It means supporting America's policies when they're right. Being a patriotic Chinese person ought to be the same way. but you've been trained to think differently by a Chinese regime that's authoritarian and dismisses your fundamental human dignity, that doesn't believe you own your own body. They don't believe you own your own body. They don't believe that you have rights. They don't believe that they themselves, government officials, ought to be constrained by those same principles, that they ought to afford individuals dignity based on human rights. They don't believe that. They haven't taught you that. Why? Because they're inferior. That's why. The Chinese regime is fundamentally inferior because it's authoritarian. The only way we can determine legitimacy is if we can have this fight. I want you to yell back at me and say, no, Eric, you're fucking stupid. That's wrong, Eric. You're fucking stupid. I want you to be able to tell me that, right? But you can't tell that to the Chinese government official, can you? That's the problem. They're not accountable to the same rules they're applying to the people who live there. The government officials aren't. They're accountable to a different set of rules. Whenever you have that, we have it in the United States too. It's corruption. It's corruption, it's unethical, it's immoral, it's unacceptable, and we must take stands against it. When we play along with the lies of our respective governments, then we just contribute to the awfulness. We're human beings, you and me. We know as human beings what's right and wrong. These governments that claim to represent us, they don't represent us. And when China's doing effed up shit, call it out, you know? There's no reason to say, yeah, okay, China, fine. Taiwan's part of you. No, they're not. You're stupid. Taiwan's its own country. Final speech, Jasmine, on China. Go.
Well, the reason why I support China is because first, I'm a Chinese, and second of all, I think I need to support it because it's my homeland, it's my motherland. I can talk bad about it anything I want, but because I want to point out the the problems that it has, because I want China to improve as a whole. It's because I love that country, and second of all, I think that in China, since we're born, we've been taught to support your country. We've been taught to like follow the rules that people taught you because those are the rules and there's no way to change it. So that's the reason why I support every single China's decision without looking at the two sides. So now since I come to America, I've learned that there are many different governments. There's now because before I thought that there's only communists and that's all. Because we've been taught to follow the rules and we've been taught to follow the government forms since we were born. But now I've learned that there are democracies, there are democratic government, there are, I know, many other governments I can't even name of. So I'm not here to say that China is bad. I'm just here to say that China needs to improve. So it needs to give more freedom to its own people. It needs to teach people about its wrongdoings. It does, kind of. So it needs to give more freedom and not to only give their people only a one-sided view upon a certain thing. Because what does that lead to? That leads to whenever a problem occurs, people automatically think that the other country is bad, and they automatically attack the other country's people, no matter who they are.
Right.
So that's a problem. And also we need to learn how to argue in China, and we need to learn how to argue effectively. Instead of only stating your view, you need to consider the two views, because especially upon a government policy. Because in China, if you say that the government is bad, there's a possibility that they will come and capture you. I'm not saying that there might be a possibility, but you're not allowed to go outside and just curse and just say that the government is horrible. I've seen.
It's a hierarchy thing, right?
We can talk about an issue, for example, racism or discrimination, and attack it or support it, but we can't talk about a government rule, a government law, a law that's being passed, and we can't argue about that. That's a no-no. So for me, I think that the reason why I always consider China's always the right guy is because we've been taught to not question China's government official, not to question China's government. Yeah, the rules, the laws that it has. So we we do not know that there are many other reasons why this reason is here. There are many other reasons why Chinese are being, people sometimes look at China and say that it's horrible. It's because, and whenever people say that, we just feel unjust, we just feel sad, and we just feel bad about our countries, because we've been only taught the good side about our country. We never actually talk about the bad side. We never actually talk about how important is one's freedom can be. So for this, I think like for my suggestion, I'm not saying that China's bad as a whole. I love China. I criticize it, but I still want it to grow because I'm a Chinese. I do not just want to go out there and say, China's bad, China's stupid. Like, go die or something, right? And then what I'm saying is that we should have more freedom to look at a political issue. We should have more freedom to express our feelings towards a law or towards something that the officials did. So,
or if you disagree with your teacher, as you're doing with me right now, right? Shouldn't you get to have your position say, no, you're stupid, Eric. Your ideas are dumb, you're wrong, and here's why. Fuck you, Eric. You should be able to tell me that, right?
Yeah, we shouldn't only be taught that, like in schools, we've been taught that you should write an essay like this because you should write an essay like this. We should have more freedom to explore.
Damn straight. We'll end on that note. Well said, Jasmine. More freedom to explore for everybody. Let's take a break. Let's have an exploration break.
Talking with famous people.